would like to talk about what I believe is a crooked business which has the blessing of the government and the medical profession. At the same time, it is generating billions of dollars for government coffers, and all the do-gooders are happy to turn a blind eye. I'm talking about smoking in Australia, where cigarette prices are the highest in the world. A pack-a-day smoker will spend up to $10,000 a year just to sustain his addiction. While smoking through a device is different to lighting up, it sure is a lot cheaper. Vaping costs around $1,500 a year compared to $10,000 smokers are paying for cigarettes. 3 million people here in Australia smoke, and 2.4 million people on a daily basis. Since 2001 until now, the number of Aussies who smoke has fallen from 20% to 12.8%. And in the same time frame, the level of excise duty generated from tobacco sales has increased from $4.5 billion to more than $12 billion this year, and is set to jump to $17 billion in 2029-2020. So how effective has the price gouging been on the health of our fellow Australians? Last month, the CSIRO released a study confirming e-cigarettes assisted smokers in quitting. ATHRA said that switching from smoking to e-cigarettes was likely to improve health and reduce exposure to further harmful chemicals and toxins. Moreover, the CSIRO report said that when e-cigarettes are used by smokers instead of conventional cigarettes, there is evidence for improvement in individual health. And it went on to say the most common reason for using e-cigarettes was to quit or reduce smoking, and that smokers preferred to quit using e-cigarettes instead of other established quitting methods. If we look overseas, Canada has now legalised vaping. The same in the UK and in New Zealand, where it all has been legalised. In the UK, their health department says e-cigarettes could be contributing to at least 20,000 successful new quits per year and possibly more. Of course, the opponents of this, such as the AMA, claim that vaping and e-cigarettes is a gateway to smoking for non-smokers and teenagers. Funny enough, it was only last week that I received a letter from the AMA which warned that the threat tobacco companies were waging on our society and the so-called sneaky ways that they were adopting to influence public policy and public opinion. I find this attitude very hypocritical. We are smoking less, but we are paying way more tax. I don't hear the AMA jump up and down on how the government of the day should be spending its tobacco-generated revenue. The talk about vaping being a gateway for non-smokers, I think at best is alarming. If we as a nation are genuine in our bid to help people reduce their smoking, why don't we encourage this option? The fact that the sale of liquid nicotine here in Australia for e-cigarettes is banned is puzzling, and most people probably don't even know it's illegal to buy liquid nicotine. But ironically, it's perfectly legal to import it from overseas, countries like China, where we don't even know what we're getting. Is the government more concerned about its coffers drying up if people switch to vaping? The vaping industry actually generates $2 billion to the national economy. But for some reason, we seem more concerned about slugging smokers as much as we can to fatten up the government's coffers. As a nation, we are more concerned about generating easy revenue to compensate for the lack of vision successive governments have been guilty of when it comes to not having a viable industry. Or do we generally have the interests of Australians at heart and a concerted public policy to reduce tobacco harm and pave the way for a healthier way of living? Australia must come to age. Australia must move in the 21st century and give vaping a go.